The Igeldamms car park in the capital of Sweden seems like an ordinary underground parking, hewn into the rockface, but it doubles up as a public shelter for 1,200 people in case of a full-scale war. According to Associated Press, with tensions with Russia increasing since the full-scale war in Ukraine, the Swedish government has pledged to increase sevenfold the budget allocated to civil defense. Since last year, it has set aside 100 million Swedish kronor annually to upgrade the 64,000 shelters built during World War II and the Cold War, to increase its ability to protect the civilian population. Priority has been given to the modernizing of several dozen large shelters able to accommodate more than 1,000 people. The renovation of the Second World War-era Igeldamms shelter in central Stockholm was completed in September, and work on 24 out of 80 other large shelters is continuing. The entire renovation process, including the upgrade of air filters and replacement of diesel generators, can take up to 2 to 3 years, according to the Swedish Civil Contingencies Agency. The government hopes that the increased funding for the civil defense in the coming years will boost the pace of this process. But the agency's shelter specialist, Anders Johannesson, says the money allocated to the renovation annually is unlikely to cover the cost of fixing all of Sweden's 64,000 shelters, let alone the building of new ones. Late last year, the country's civil defense minister warned that the military threat against Sweden had increased and that an armed attack could not be excluded. He was speaking as he announced another update of a Cold War-era civil emergency advice booklet. Besides giving practical advice on cyber and terror attacks, pandemic and environmental threats, along with conventional warfare, it also carries items on self-defense, psychological defense, digital security and protection against air raids. The first edition of the booklet was published during World War II.
This shelter we are in now, it's a rock haven shelter. It's inside the mountain, and in peacetime there are a parking garage, as you see the cars. In case of a high-end alert or war, the cars have to leave and give place for 1,200 people. The orange square with the blue triangle is here can air come out. So it's an overpressure inside the shelter, so no air from the outside. It can resist the blast and the debris and such things that comes with a bomb. And then it's airtight, so it even resists biogas or chemical gas or even nuclear waste. $100 million a year isn't near enough for all the 64,000, but I think depends on the government how long they want to give money to this. But the thought the government have is to renovate all shelters in Sweden, and then when we have renovated all the shelters, then maybe we start building new ones. That's in the stars so far.
I don't think we're too well prepared. There's some information coming out in your mailbox and so on, but I'm not sure. We're not used to crisis here in Sweden.
I think it's more about if something happens, right? I think people don't think it's super likely something will happen. But if something would happen, I don't know how safe people would feel. It's tough to say.
Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko praised U.S. President Donald Trump on his efforts to restore order in the Middle East. These are decisive and positive steps that could lead to the creation of a state, perhaps a unified Palestinian state, that would include the Gaza Strip, and people there would finally be able to live normally, Lukashenko said at a meeting with Belarusian officials on Tuesday. According to Associated Press, Lukashenko said that Belarus is ready to strike a big deal with the U.S., but our interests must also be taken into account, and everything must be fair, as we once agreed with the Americans, he noted. Lukashenko had another message for Trump, telling the U.S. leader not to be too concerned about not being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He said that, being among these renegades there is probably not appropriate for him, and expressed confidence that, it is more important to evaluate the international community and the people of the world than this politicized structure. Belarus has two Nobel laureates, human rights defender Ales Bialyatsky, who was arrested in and sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, and journalist Svetlana Alexievich, who was forced to leave the country because of political persecution.
Я хотел бы сегодня с вами посоветоваться по ряду вопросов. Я абсолютно поддерживаю эти шаги президента Соединенных Штатов Америки Дональда Трампа по наведению порядка на Ближнем Востоке в данном случае. Шаг решительный, хороший, который, возможно, приведет к созданию государства, может быть, единого палестинского государства, куда войдет и сектор Газа, и, наконец-то, люди получат возможность там нормально жить. В установление мира в мире вообще. Да ничего не сделали, наоборот, способствовали и подталкивали. Мы готовы с ними заключить большую сделку. На одной чаше весов их вопросы, просьбы и требования, на другой чаше весов наши вопросы и требования. Решаем? Давайте будем решать. Мы к этому готовы. Предложение Дональда Трампа в этом плане я абсолютно оцениваю нормально. Но должны быть учтены и наши интересы. И все должно быть честно, как когда-то мы с американцами договаривались. Если обещана премия Дональду Трампу в будущем году, значит, мы можем рассчитывать на то, что он будет проводить. Я лично бы ему посоветовал особо не переживать, что не присудили эту Нобелевскую премию, потому что быть в ряду этих отщепенцев там, наверное, ему не к месту. Ну, а люди в мире должны оценить то, что делают Соединенные Штаты Америки и их президент на международной арене. Это важнее оценка международного сообщества и людей в мире, нежели вот этой политизированной структуры. Оппозиционерку из Венесуэлы, ничего не имею против, не знаю о ее политике, как и вы, наверное, ничего не знаете. Хвосты какие-то остались. И Чергенец, и наши руководители Белавия заявляют, обещанное будут выполнять, так же, как